Hi, and thank you for tuning in to another episode on the Alacriti Payments Podcast. I'm your host, Saman Kazmi. Alacriti has been long at the forefront of innovation for instant payments, and we receive a lot of questions from bank and credit union executives. In this episode, Amy Faley, manager of ACH at Veridian Credit Union, and Mark Majeske, senior vice president of Faster Payments here at Alacriti, address the top instant payment questions they get asked today.
Thank you, Simon, and welcome to Amy. Glad to have you here. Amy, I wanted you to know that you fit a definition that's near and dear to my heart, and that is as early adopter. Veridian was actually one of our first financial institutions that we took live into the instant payments network way back in November of 2021. So glad to have you here. So Amy, I have a question for you. The first question is a two-part question. And so you've been with Veridian for quite a while. How has your role and those of others evolved within your organization with the addition of instant payments? And part two of that question is, what was the inspiration behind becoming an early adopter?
Thanks for having me here today. And I've been at Veridian for a very long time. I actually celebrated 19 years this month, so it's been a while. Really the evolution. So I started this role, manager of ACH, right as the payments team had decided that we're going to go ahead and look into this instant payment thing and see what it's all about. So right then and there, I was moved into that whole scene. So I got to see it from beginning to end, from all the vendors we looked at to writing the recommendations. It was so great. And really how I've seen that evolve is just, payments haven't evolved. I think same day ACH was the last real big thing. Now that we see instant payments, my position has evolved to obviously learn the new things, the nuances of instant payments across two separate service providers. And on top of that, now we're seeing even more payment things coming to the forefront, stable coins. So really just evolving to have my ears and eyes out there to see what's actually happening. How that's evolved for my team, really it wasn't a big jump. We added one person, one role to the team for instant payments. So really wasn't as big of a concern. We need more people. We need people here 24/7. So it evolved in the respect that we're learning more about new payments, and we've brought on somebody else to kind of help with that. But operationally, that role doesn't really do as much as they do with projects. So working with Alacriti and working with some of our other service providers and even our fintech partners to just really align and help each other as we go down this road of instant payments. And really what inspired that were two things: our fintech clients who were looking to send payments faster, and our members. Our members were looking to send and receive payments faster. We're always hearing about that, even today with instant payments. How can we make it go even faster? Because obviously not everybody's on the rail. So we need more people to join. That's what we need for things to be faster. But really for our fintech clients, it was, again, a need. They are looking to send money faster for their clients. So how can we help them? How can we grow that relationship? And how can we just expand together?
Great. And I imagine also that you went from a building mode or a development mode to a strategy mode. So love to hear about that a bit later. In the beginning, what were the most intriguing use cases? And I'm trying to get a feel for use cases back in 2021. Give me an idea of what you were looking at and what you were excited about at the time.
Absolutely. We built a whole strategy. So when we decided we were going to move forward with instant payments, we actually created a use case list of, what it was for us to accomplish for our business partners and for our membership at large. Really, one of the biggest intriguing things for us starting out were loan payments, not loan payments, but really moving funds to settle loans. So how do we send that mortgage closing faster? How do we pay off that dealership faster? How do we move money outside of regular banking hours? Really that was super intriguing to us. Hey, it's great. We could send a wire. We could do a same day ACH as long as we're all here. But what do we do for the people who are shopping, not during regular business or banking hours, because that's when they work? So how do we really involve those faster payment rails to really help us meet these needs? So really that was, for me, the most intriguing part about it. And today we're still working through some of those use cases. And right now we're entrenched in a project to move some of our wires, some of our ACH over to those faster payment rails for our internal use cases for indirect lending, the mortgage closings and whatnot. But yeah, that was intriguing.
Do you think that in the mortgage, I'll use the mortgage disbursement or the auto loan disbursement use case, if did you find that made it more competitive for you in the marketplace?
As we're starting to move down that road, absolutely. We're finding that there's a lot of businesses, a lot of other financials even clamoring for how can we move these funds faster? We have members going out to get an auto loan, and they may see a better rate somewhere else, and how do they move that payoff? And same vice versa to us. We have a better rate. How do we move that money? How do we get that title quicker? So how do we just make everybody happy? So we're kind of in the beginning stages of that. We are entrenched, like I said, in an internal project. However, we are already seeing how it's going to make a difference for our membership, as well as kind of create some new business links, I think. If we're moving money faster, we might make more indirect partnerships because they know that we can send those funds faster. And that's kind of what we're getting the gist of right now.
Okay. So fast forward to today and maybe tomorrow, right? In terms of use cases, you mentioned a few that were on your radar to begin with. Maybe looking at things like RFP or other capabilities that are yet to become popular. What are you thinking about today and tomorrow from a use case perspective?
Yeah, absolutely. RFPs are very top of mind. We're looking at that potential, especially with one of our clients who, with digital wallets. How do we make RFPs with digital wallets work? It's an intriguing use case. Really, for our general membership for collections, how can we make that process even just a little nicer or a little easier for our members to pay us? How can we really implement that? How can we kind of make processes a little bit easier internally and externally? And that's really what I would say that is really top of mind when we talk about, okay, what's the next step? How do we implement those RFPs, and how do we get other people to adopt and implement those RFPs? And I think that's going to come from really working with other institutions and other groups to really make that happen. And hopefully here we'll see some of that going on. It looks like there's a good RFP initiative or a push on both networks.
Yeah, and sometimes I guess that brings to play partnerships, as you had said, and so it changes the dynamic a bit, but it offers your members more functionality and more features. I wanted to talk a little bit about monetization, and I know in the early 2021 days, most people were not thinking about monetization yet. They were just trying to stand up the capability. As we go forward today, what I'm seeing in the marketplace is ACH for free, and people are starting to consider instant payment monetization, both consumer, business, and maybe working with fintechs. Would like your point of view on that. Where do you see monetization going from a Veridian perspective?
We had a plan from the beginning, and we've actually stuck with that plan. So for us, it was a lot of our fintech partners pushing us into this space of really looking into it, right? So encouraging us to kind of see what was out there. And with that, we knew that there'd be that potential to monetize within our business clients, so within the commercial side of the house, which would then enable us to give the retail members that opportunity to receive, we're not monetizing, but to send without charging a fee. So for Veridian, are monetizing that on the business side of the house. So, really banking as a service is where we're putting that. And for our membership, it's really just the cost of doing business for us. We want to make sure that our members have access to these great services. They're always asking for faster money movement, and we want to be able to do that and to do it responsibly. And I feel like we're there. So, really, when it comes to monetizing, that's the Veridian stance, is we'll keep it on the business side of the house. I know some other financials have decided to put a small fee or a percentage on that amount. And on some level, that definitely works. And I think that could also thwart a little bit of fraud, right? Who wants to pay to send it? It might take another day, but I'll still likely get the funds and not pay for it. So perhaps that would thwart a little fraud. But for us, let's give it to the members, and just like really most services that we give. So bill pay services, we want them to be able to interact with their accounts with us with really no restrictions and without having to pay for it.
Yep. Great. Sounds like it's good to be a member at Veridian then.
I would agree. Good to be an employee too, Mark.
Great. Even better yet. In terms of, I know we spoke about the beginning, we spoke about today. Look forward about 2 years. Tell me what the world looks like then from a use case perspective and maybe usage. And is there any way for you to measure reduction in attrition or an increase in members joining Veridian as a result?
I have a dream, a wish that, yes, in the next 1 to 2 years, we are offering this globally. We are able to offer instant payments, and maybe not 100% globally, but definitely looking at that potential to interact with specific corridors, especially the ones that our members send, Western Union point of sale or wires or clunky transactions that can take a long time that don't necessarily need to, and can still go through the same sanctions to make sure that we're not sending fraud, we're not sending anything that would be outside of what we'd want to do, right? Not helping terrorist activity and whatnot. So I mean, there's still that ability to make sure that we're looking at that before the transaction is out the door. We're doing that domestically. Yeah. So that'd be huge. Instant payments global, let's make it happen.
Yep, I agree. And there is a lot of work in that area being done for sure. As an early adopter of instant payments, and I'm going to preface this question with that I do a lot of public speaking on instant payments, and I oftentimes hear hurdles or things, people who are interested in instant payments, but they're not quite sure. There's some things they need to consider. So wondering, as an early adopter, if you have any advice for those individuals in terms of those contemplating adding instant payments to their payment strategy.
Yeah, I really think that a lot of the things that we had to overcome or look at as early adopters, they're no longer a big issue. Those things have kind of been overcome. So for us, speed to market, that no longer is a concern. Many service providers can get you there quickly. There's many more service providers offering the service or offering a way to get to these networks. There's so many more integrations with existing systems now, your core systems, your online banking systems. So really, it's all kind of there and right there for you. I can't say if it's cheaper to do because we're not going back through an implementation, so I don't know what that cost looks like, but I would imagine it is cheaper because all of these things became more available. So really, for me, Mark, I don't really see many obstacles in the way of this. I know lots of people have thought about fraud, and so did we. That was a big considering factor, and we don't necessarily see any more fraud in this channel than we see in any other channel. And when I say not necessarily, we absolutely do not see any more fraud in this channel. Mm-hmm. So for me, there's nothing really holding you back at this point because there's so many ways to send instant payments but to be able to settle them instantly, and I mean, they appear instant, right? Like you might have a transaction, a digital wallet transaction, and that's instant for the person using it, but not necessarily for the financials who are moving the funds. And this just cleans things up. It's moving it faster, settling it faster. So, you're asking me what my advice is. It's really, the time is now. People see it's there, it's happening, people want it. And again, I think all of these hurdles really aren't hurdles, at least in my mind. And that could just be because we were early adopters and we did have lots of things, or at least I feel like lots more things to consider. So really, I would say, Mark, no hurdles at this point. It's something that really needs to happen. It's growing. Both networks continue to grow. I don't see a decline in that. I see, continued growth, continued financials adding themselves to these networks, and it just makes sense.
Great. Well, it's obvious that Veridian has the right formula, and great to hear your input today, and certainly appreciate your time. Being an early adopter gives you a different vision than most people have, and so I always like to hear from people who were in it at the beginning, and so thank you very much for your time today.
Thanks, Mark. It's always a pleasure talking to you about instant payments and other things. So thanks for having me today. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
That's it for today's episode. Thank you again, Amy and Mark, for sharing your insights on the evolving world of instant payments. Today, we explored how member demand is driving adoption, the unexpected use cases that have emerged, and the opportunities real-time payments present for future growth. If you are interested in learning more about Alacriti's Payments Hub, check out our website at www.alacriti.com. Under our resources section, you will find blogs, webinars, and more. Thank you.